Let's take you to this now. President Cyril Ramaphosa is at the Africa Aerospace and Defence Trade and Exhibition at the Air Force Base in Waterkloof. There you see him going in, and Kailise Kumalo is standing by for us.
Well, certainly those are the visuals of South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa as he's having a walkabout here at the Air Show in Centurion. So he's having an opportunity really to see this showpiece. As you know, this is quite important for the defense industry, but also for the economic spin-off as well. And as you can see that he's flanked by the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, Angie Motshekga, alongside the Deputy Minister Holomisa. So right now he's currently here by Dénel stall. So as you know, that Dénel is one of the very key entities for the South African government in terms of manufacturing of weapons. At some point really they had some challenges at the very height of state capture, but so far quite a raft of reforms have been introduced to try and resuscitate this entity. So we're going to try during the course of the afternoon really to have an interaction with the president. So he's very curious about these armaments being shown here by this delegation here alongside the President of the Republic. So this is quite a very important opportunity for him as well, Unati, as you know of the role that's played by South Africa when it comes to peacekeeping missions in the African continent and many other areas really in the continent and elsewhere where there are security challenges. In fact, a short while ago we spoke to the SANDF chief, Mapanya, who was really talking about the very essence of that in terms of making sure that there's stability and making sure that there's development as well. So we're still here by the Dénel stall and getting just a briefing from the officials and some of the industry players in terms of these displays. But also what is quite important about this Air Show in Nati is that it's really just about making sure that the industry is at the cutting edge in terms of the latest trends in fighting a number of security challenges. You know that these are very turbulent times, and in terms of making sure that there's peace really, and a long-lasting peace. And a number of countries are participating here, especially when it comes to the BRICS partners, but also some countries in the African continent as well here, the likes of Kenya, Senegal, Uganda. They also do have, for example, their aircraft right here at the Waterkloof Air Force Base. So this interaction continues, and obviously quite also a massive interest here from the perspective of the media as well, as so many people have descended here on Nati just to get a sense in terms of how can the defense industry really just shape in terms of making sure that they stay ahead, but also most importantly in terms of making sure that there's a contribution in terms of peacemaking. But it was quite interesting. A short while ago we spoke as well to one of the manufacturers, Milco, and we're talking about the drones, you know, just the importance of the drones that are used in terms of the intelligence collection, but also in terms of many other civilian needs, not just only here in South Africa, but across the world as well. So the South African President, Cyril Ramaphosa, is right here and getting a first-hand account in terms of, for example, Dénel, because we're still stationed here by Dénel's stall. And it's a very interesting time as well. You know, we spoke to the Defense and Military Veterans Minister, Angie Motshekga, and she was saying this is very good for the industry, but for them also to work with their counterparts, not only here in South Africa, but sharing those experiences, sharing their expertise, and be able to have the collaboration. But this is also key for enhancement of diplomatic relations amongst the countries. And as you know that when it comes to South Africa's foreign policy, the issue of security and, just the peaceful resolution of conflicts, it's really one of the key pillars. So we're still here by one of the hangars here at the Waterkloof Air Force Base as the South African president is getting just an interaction with a number of officials who are deployed here. So
I'm sure it is very technical as, those conversations around specifically trade continue amongst those members. But you did get a chance to speak to some of the exhibitors that are there. I'm told in a region of about 300 or so exhibitors from various countries and also, of course, from the continent. Just any interesting key thing that they've told you?
Well, quite a lot of things have been mentioned on Nati, especially because, as we know, that when it comes to security, it's quite important to always be ahead and really know in terms of the trends and many other things as well. But also for them to make sure that their gadgets as well are well positioned. So, by all accounts, a lot has been said. So, pardon us if things are a bit shaky. So, as you can see, that there's a scrum and a lot of interest around this particular air show. But something also I can tell you, Nati, is that a number of countries are participating here. But I think a very key element here is around the economic spin-off. When you talk about the defense industry, especially given the fact that South Africa has always been one of the pioneering players in terms of leading. For example, we saw one of the biggest drones in the African continent manufactured here in South Africa. So there's quite a lot that has been said. And we know that this is going to be a 5-day affair with Nati, but also the aviation enthusiasts as well will have an opportunity to come with their family members and be part of this experience, because for a number of people, this is like an event where they often do go and experience what is being offered by the military.
And of course, what you're talking about there is, I think on the last day, they then do an air show from the September 21st to September 22nd. Aerobatics and displays will be carried out, of course, inviting very young people to also be part and parcel of this particular development, and also from a career guidance perspective. These aircraft shows we've seen in the past have really attracted a number of spectators. I think at one point anything around 50 to 60,000 people just coming to view some of these air shows and also just marvel and be part of the proceedings. That is going to be, as you're saying, Kaya, going to be happening on the last day of this particular conference. Just talk to us then a little bit as we try and follow you and the camera, of course, in terms of the significance of having President Cyril Ramaphosa's presence, during this particular show. I see he is flanked by both the defense minister as well as the deputy minister, which is of course a very important. And these are new positions under the government of national unity, Kaya.
Well, absolutely, Nati. I think this, is quite important, especially because he's a commander-in-chief. So he's able to really oversee the program here. But also, this is a very important opportunity for him, like you just alluded, for the new GNU government that is in place, for them to have an opportunity, really, for South Africa to stay ahead of the trends in terms of defense, in terms of the armaments and the artillery. And like you just mentioned, quite a very important point, Nati, around the issue of the skills as well being exchanged to the young people, especially because, as you know, that quite a number of embassies are also part of this. And most importantly, what is key here is the issue of making sure that the young people are able to learn and they're able to explore the career paths in as far as defense is concerned. So it's another stall here, and the president is getting just a briefing in terms of how everything works, and just in terms of really the latest trend, especially now you know that South Africa is part of that SADC brigade that is currently in the restive eastern part of the DRC. So this is quite important for them really to be acquainted, and just it was quite interesting, you know, when we spoke to the SNDF chief, he spoke about the issue of saying, look, SNDF has always been trying to really just make sure that they stay ahead of the curve, notwithstanding obviously the budget cuts that we have seen across so many departments. So they try to make sure that they remain well equipped.
And I think just for the benefit of our viewers, just to run down through some of the key, issues that will be discussed over the next couple of days. Today, the topic of discussion is centered around future warfare, which will explore the latest innovations, as you've also indicated, Akaya, in terms of technologies and trends that are currently, shaping the future, really, of military operations. And then on the next day, which is September 19, which is tomorrow, they will then play host to the South African Defence Industry Showcase Day, which will highlight the achievements, the capabilities and the challenges that the local defence industry faces. That will be an interesting one, Kaya, because, just talking about some of the industry challenges that South Africa is facing in as far as the defense is concerned, budget constraints being one very topical one that we've seen, of course, with missions in the DRC, with missions in Mozambique, as an example. So critical component there that will happen tomorrow, where South Africa, I would imagine, the Minister of Defense, Angie Motshekga, would play a very key role there in just talking through some of those challenges.
Well, certainly, Unati. When you look at some of the major issues really that dominated the discussions amongst the delegation, has to be the issue around issues pertaining to cyber warfare, issues around maritime security. As you know that, for example, a country like South Africa with a massive coastline, it really needs those vessels, it needs those submarines to fight piracy, but also just in terms of the country's security, but also collaborating with the neighbors as well. As you know that South Africa has always been a very central player in terms of the peacekeeping missions, but also something that is very important, Unati. We know during the course of this gathering there'll be a session around, for example, we know that the Red Sea, the shipping industry has been severely affected in terms of the vessels with the attacks from the Houthis, obviously with the escalation of the conflict in the Middle East. And as you know that South Africa as well is a very key player when it comes to that, looking at the case before the ICJ and stuff. But in the main, this is such a very important opportunity in terms of making sure that South Africa is getting those priorities and being able. So just bear with us. The visuals might be a bit shaky. It's because there's quite a massive interest around this particular exhibition. But we're still stationed here, Unati, and quite a lot of fascinating things happening here.
Absolutely, Kylie. Thank you so much for that. Are we expecting then President Cyril Ramaphosa to address anytime soon before we let you go?
Well, at this particular point, Unat, we're going to see if we can get a word or two from the president. We still await to hear if he will have an engagement with the media, but that will be quite interesting, especially given the fact that we know that this is a very busy time for him. In a matter of time, he's going to be going to the United Nations in New York, and a lot of important discussions there, for example, around some of the Western countries countries supporting what has been a long-standing issue for the African continent. So it boils down to security again when it comes to the UN Security Council and the permanent seats. So let's see if we can get a word or two. There you go. Mr. Magweng has made an undertaking here. Sir, well, from your point of view, what do you make of this?
It's an amazing show. The president will talk to you, Kaya, so it's okay.
Okay, so you see, Unati, we have an assurance that during the course of the afternoon, we will have the president.
Certainly did try, Khayelitsha. Of course, we're going to be monitoring those visuals from Khayelitsha there in Waterkloof, in Pretoria, actually. That is that very important air show that is happening there now. Of course, this does come just a day after or so that the Minister of Military Veterans, Minister Angie Motshekga, praised Cyril Ramaphosa for his wise decision to bring state-owned enterprise SOE Dénel under the wing of the Ministry of Defence and Military Veterans. Of course, she then needs to just give more details around how that would work. We understand, of course, that move to bring in the Dénel under the ministry forms part of government's plans to move those SOEs that reported to the former Department of Public Enterprises to their respective line departments, if you will recall that announcement being made. Of course, the minister then saying that it will help streamline operations of Dénel to the benefit of the South African National Defence Force. These are live visuals that we are bringing you this afternoon, of course, so we will try and see if President Cyril Ramaphosa will then be speaking to delegations there. That is the Africa Aerospace and Defence Trade and Exhibition at the Air Force Base in Waterkloof.